Welcome to the deep dive. You're here because you want to get smart, fast, right.
hmm
You're looking for those light bulb moments, the one that make you go, aha, without feeling like your brain just downloaded the entire internet. You sent us something really interesting this week, and that's exactly what we're going to unpack for you.
That's right. Yeah, the material you shared was a lively discussion about the book Talk Like TED, The 9 Public Speaking Secrets of the World's Top Minds by Carmine Gallo. And what's fascinating is that while it focuses on those incredible TED Talks, the core ideas resonate,
hmm
well, so much broader than just standing on a stage.
Absolutely. Our deep dive today takes us right into that cafe conversation between Ryan and Sophia.
Hmm.
We're going to pull out the crucial insights from their chat about this Talk Like TED book and figure out how you can use these principles in your own communication, whether you're presenting to a room full of people or, just trying to make sure your point lands in your next team meeting.
Yeah.
So a conversation about a communication book, let's get into it.
Okay, so Sophia jumps right into a really important point, addressing something you might be thinking yourself. How does a book about TED speakers apply to, like, everyday life? Ryan voices this exact question, actually. And Sophia immediately clarifies that these core principles aren't reserved for the public speaking elite.
Exactly. She cuts right to the chase, saying it's for anyone who wants to be a better communicator at work, in meetings, even in everyday conversations. That's a fundamental takeaway for you right there. This isn't about suddenly delivering some groundbreaking speech. It's about making your everyday interactions more effective, really.
And then Sophia does a great job of taking the book's 9 principles and sort of grouping them into 3 overarching themes. This makes the whole framework much more digestible, easier to
Right.
recall. It's like finding the main branches of a tree instead of getting lost in all the leaves.
Okay. So what are these 3 key branches we should be focusing on?
Well, the first one, and arguably the most impactful, is emotional connection. Sophia emphasizes that people don't just listen to words, they feel stories. Think about it for a second.
Yeah.
When you've been truly captivated by a speaker, what was it that held your attention? Was it just a recitation of facts, or was there something more?
It's almost always the stories, isn't it? The moments where you connect
Yep,
with
yep.
the speaker on a human level. Like Sophia says, it's about feeling something.
Yeah.
We've all sat through presentations where data just washes over us, but a well-told story that sticks with you long after.
Precisely. And it makes you wonder, right? In your own communications, how can you tap into that emotional element? Think about how the use of vivid imagery or maybe even just a brief personal anecdote can trigger empathy or recognition in your audience. Makes your message resonate on a deeper level than just, stating facts.
Good point. Yeah, it's not about manipulating emotions, but about making your message relatable and human. So what's the second core principle Sophia highlights?
The second is novelty, that crucial element of surprise. Sophia points out the importance of introducing something new to your audience. Our brains are naturally drawn to things that are unexpected or different. It keeps us alert, engaged. If everything you're saying is predictable, it's just too easy for attention to drift.
That rings so true. Think about presentations where the speaker throws in a surprising statistic or like an unusual analogy. It's like a little jolt that wakes you up and makes the information more memorable.
hmm
How do you weave in novelty without it feeling forced, though, or random?
That's a great question. It's about finding ways to present familiar information from a fresh perspective, or maybe introducing a surprising data point that challenges conventional thinking. It could be as simple as framing your argument in an unexpected way or using a visual aid that breaks the mold. The goal is really to pique curiosity and make people think, I hadn't considered that before.
Makes sense. Keep things fresh, keep people curious. What's the third piece of this puzzle, then?
The third major principle is memorable delivery. Sophia stresses that even the most brilliant message can be lost if the delivery is just flat or unengaging. It's about making your communication an experience, something that leaves a lasting impression. Think about speakers you enjoy listening to. It's not just what they say, right? It's how they say it.
Absolutely. A dynamic speaker can make even dry material interesting, while a monotone delivery can kill even the most exciting topic. So it's about bringing energy and passion to your communication.
Exactly. It involves things like varying your tone, using pauses effectively, maybe even incorporating visual aids or movement if the context allows. It's about making sure your audience not only understands your message, but also, crucially, remembers it.
Okay, so to recap the big 3. Emotional connection through stories, novelty through surprise, and memorable delivery through engaging presentation. Now, Sophia brings up a really compelling example to show how these principles work in the real world. Let's talk about Steve Jobs.
Ah, yes. Steve Jobs. Sophia uses his iPhone launch as a perfect illustration. What's insightful here is how she emphasizes that he didn't just list the phone's technical features. No. Instead, he painted a picture of how this device would transform communication in everyday life. He connected with people's aspirations and desires, focusing on the what it could do for you rather than just the what it was made of.
Right. It wasn't about the gigabytes or the processors initially. It was about the experience, that feeling of having the internet in your pocket, the ability to connect with anyone, anywhere. That's emotional connection at its finest, yeah.
Totally.
Wrapped in a groundbreaking product and delivered with his iconic style.
And that leads perfectly into Sophia's point about a critical communication pitfall, being boring. She argues that many speakers overload on facts and forget emotion. This directly relates to what you, our listener, often want to avoid, that feeling of being overwhelmed by too much dry information.
Tell me about it. We've all been there, right? Drowning in data and bullet points until our eyes glaze over. You might technically get the information, but does it actually stick? Probably not. You just end up feeling more drained than informed.
And Sophia provides this wonderful contrast with her analogy of a sales increase being like climbing a mountain. Instead of just stating, say, a 20% rise, she creates a narrative of effort, challenge, and eventual success. Can you see how much more impactful that is?
I love that. It transforms a simple statistic into a relatable journey. You can visualize the claim, the obstacles overcome, the final victory. It makes the information so much more meaningful and, crucially, memorable. It's the difference between hearing a number and actually feeling the accomplishment.
This really underscores the power of storytelling over just presenting raw data. Stories engage different parts of our brains. They create connections and make information much, much more sticky. This raises an important question for you listening. In your own communications, where could you weave in a narrative to illustrate your points more effectively?
Definitely something to ponder. Now, what about those of us who don't consider ourselves natural public speakers? Ryan brings up that very valid concern.
He does, and Sophia offers some really encouraging words. She stresses that anyone can improve. According to their conversation about Gallo's book, there are numerous examples of people who started out feeling nervous or, awkward about speaking and became compelling communicators simply by learning and applying these core principles.
That's great to share. So it's not about being born with some innate gift for gab. It's about learning and practicing effective techniques. So even if you get those pre-meeting jitters, these are skills you can actually cultivate.
Precisely. And the benefits extend way beyond just delivering a TED Talk. Ryan jokes about suddenly aspiring to be a TED speaker, and Sophia quickly brings it back down to earth, highlighting the more immediate and practical advantage. Becoming the person people actually listen to and respect in everyday professional settings, like team meetings.
That's the real payoff, isn't it? Being heard, being understood, having your ideas resonate. These communication skills aren't just for grand stages. They're essential for everyday interactions, both at work and, frankly, in your personal life, too. If you can communicate effectively, you're far more likely to achieve your goals, whether it's getting buy-in for a project or just having a meaningful conversation.
And their conversation wraps up with a bit of humor around the 18-minute rule for TED Talks. While it's mentioned with a laugh, it subtly reinforces the importance of being concise. Respecting your audience's time and keeping your message focused is a critical aspect of memorable delivery. Why do you think that 18-minute limit is so significant?
Well, it probably forces speakers to really distill their message down to the absolute essentials. You can't ramble for an hour. You have to be clear, focused, and impactful in a limited time frame. And let's be honest, nobody wants to sit through a presentation that just drags on forever. Keeping it concise shows respect for everyone's time and dramatically increases the chances that your key points will actually be remembered.
Exactly. So if we zoom out and connect all these points, what would you say are the core takeaways for you, our listener, from this deep dive into the conversation about Talk Like TED?
It really comes back to those three main pillars Sophia described. Emotional connection, using stories to make people feel something, novelty, introducing surprising elements to keep them engaged, and memorable delivery, presenting your message in a way that is dynamic and sticks with your audience.
And it's so important to remember Sophia's initial point. These aren't just tips for aspiring TED Talk stars. These principles are universally applicable in any situation where you want to communicate effectively and have an impact on the person or people you're talking to.
Right. Whether you're pitching an idea to your boss, leading a team discussion, or just trying to explain something to a friend, thinking about how you can connect emotionally, introduce something unexpected, and deliver your message in an engaging way can truly make all the difference in whether you're heard and understood.
This leads us to a final thought for you to consider. How can you consciously integrate storytelling or maybe surprising element into your next conversation or presentation? What small intentional adjustment could you make to your delivery style to make your message land with greater impact?
Think about that. It's not about becoming a perfect orator overnight. It's about taking those first steps to make your communication more human, more interesting, and ultimately more effective. We hope this deep dive has given you some practical insights and maybe a little spark of inspiration to explore these principles in your own life. Thanks for taking this dive with us.